All right, we're just going to wait for another minute or so for Jamie to come back on because she has to start the recording, I think. And I'm not sure if she has to officially open the line for others to sign on. We'll see. Camilla, is Denise joining us this morning?
Yes, she is. I actually just texted her. I sent her the link because I wasn't sure if she, maybe she didn't have the link at hand. I had to search for mine, so.
Yeah, she had trouble. I think, oh, there she is. Okay.
Yes.
It worked. We conjured her up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Carmela.
You're welcome. I wasn't sure if you needed it, so I took a chance.
I just talked to Jamie and she was going to send it, but that's fine. I'm just trying to where my Hi, Heinrich.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Are you pretending to be in the office now? There was a different background a minute ago.
I know it's terrible though, because I realized when I took this photo, my desk was a complete mess, and here I am. I'm going to talk about aesthetics, but I have, for some reason, I've lost my Renaissance background. I'm just going to blur. There we go. That's unfortunate. Let me see if I can play around while we wait for people. Poor Jamie said she was
okay.
Hi, Jamie.
All right, so I apologize for that delay. I was getting ready to send Denise the sign on and Carmela was fast. Thank you all for being here. I think a lot of people have signed up, but they aren't joining us right away. So we're going to record this and have it available on our website. So I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for putting up with the web savvy person that I am, and with our microphone and all the good technology that we have. I'd like to introduce Heinrich Strau, our treasurer for the Sullivan County Chamber of Commerce, and our training and development chair. Heinrich Strau, take it away.
All right, thank you, Jamie. And you've become quite tech savvy over the time. It's been a remarkable development of what we can achieve these days. I would like to introduce the panelists that we have with us. Ladies first, Denise and Camilla from Renaissance, who will talk about the topic this morning is spring cleaning. We thought this would be a timely subject to bring on to really talk about turning the switch from the hibernation mode to a more active and future oriented setting for the season. So we invited Denise and Carmela to talk to us about the aesthetics, what you can do to achieve a more inviting environment before you even enter a store. Kevin Cooke from Upstream Wine and Spirits and Sunshine Colony is going to take it away on the interior. That's his background, among many other things, to really kind of share ideas how to do that. And thirdly, we added the meta layer, if you want, to help us with making an internal switch. Michael Palumbo is a coach and consultant for corporate environments and individuals, and he's going to share some ideas in terms of how to get ready mentally, how to really kind of prepare yourself for the season and for a different type of business. So with that, welcome everybody, and I lay it Denise and Camilla, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Heinrich. Good morning, everyone. Did we intend to use any slides?
If you want to, you can share screen, yes.
I do have, I mean, I don't know, since we're recording, maybe it would be good because I do have some photos that I can kind of give that
Awesome.
would go along with, yeah, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
But while we're
Yes,
getting there,
absolutely.
thank you, Jamie. So while we're getting there, so a couple of months ago, Sullivan Renaissance presented at a chamber breakfast, and we talked from a very broad view about the work that we do in the community, specifically the work that our volunteers do to help build beautiful communities throughout Sullivan County. And we touched a little bit about the impact of that on the economy and business and the opportunities that present themselves as an extension, kind of broadening from there. And when we began our program 21 years ago, we were focused very much on the grassroots volunteers, but along the line realized that there were so many other opportunities. And about, I guess, 7 or 8 years ago, maybe a year or two longer, we introduced our business assistance grant program. And we did that. Actually, I love the way you've set this up today because we did it in partnership. Heinrich, I feel like you were at the table when we first started having these conversations about helping the business community see the benefit of marketing through curb appeal, the way that you set your space, and customer service, how we interact with our guests, and that those things are can be the greatest marketing of any business. And they can, propel you forward as a standout business in the community, or they can be the end of your business in the exact way if someone has the opposite negative experience. So this is a really nice follow-up to the talk we gave a few months ago about Sullivan Renaissance, because we see the same theme with businesses that we do with communities, and that is it really doesn't take a lot. A little bit goes a very long way. And I wanted to share today some of what is possible and then how we can help. So with that said, I will try to share my screen. We're all experiencing with technology. There. Can you see my screen? Okay, great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about enhancing curb appeal from free to 5,000 and everything in between. But first, just to set the stage, what exactly is curb appeal? So this is an actual definition of curb appeal, and that is the attractiveness of property and its surroundings when viewed from the street. So this is your calling card. This is what people see when they are arriving at your business or passing by your business. And the things that you do to enhance that experience is how you create better curb appeal. It's what makes people want to leave their comfortable place on the curb and go inside. It's an invitation to come into your business. And I know Kevin's going to talk a little bit more about what happens when you get inside. And so why? Why would we want to talk about this? And why is this an important part of spring cleaning, especially right now? As I mentioned, curb appeal is marketing. It adds to and highlights your brand. What you do on the outside of your business can tell a lot about what your business does. It attracts customers. It can draw them in. It adds value to your space and distinguishes your business and your building. It increases the sense of pedestrian security. We might not think about this, but when businesses are cared for and well lit or look nicely, it does create a better sense of security as people are passing through or on the streets. Hopefully it inspires others to do the same, and you sometimes will see a domino effect. It enhances the appearance of main streets overall, and it adds to community character and community pride. When you come into a community where the businesses are tidy and are look cared for, you feel like you've arrived at a place that cares about its community overall. And it all is all about first impressions. When you arrive at a business where the windows are dirty, you can't see inside, they're cluttered with all different types of things. The message is confusing. You don't even know what they're trying to say. And you might hesitate saying, well, this is what they look like outside. What are they offering me? What is their service? So you can start from the parking, the curb, and the very front of your store. So we're going to start with free. So what's for little or no cost, what can you do? You can clean your windows. That is probably something every business should put on their checklist for every spring, but maybe even depending on where you are, you might need to do it more often, because I know if you're on a busy street and there's a lot of sand and dust that comes up, a lot of times as a business owner, you're probably so busy inside your store performing your business that you're not always looking at what's happening on the outside. So the windows are, some people say the eyes are the windows to your soul. Well, your windows are the windows to your business. So you want to really pay attention to what's happening there. And of course, they present a whole opportunity. Your sidewalk in front of your store, we can debate for hours, probably longer, about who's responsible for the care and upkeep of sidewalks. In some communities, it falls to the municipality. In some communities, it falls to the business owner. But in every community, that ability to just do a little bit of cleaning up outside of your business really is, it benefits you as a business owner. So keeping it free of debris and litter, you might have to take the extra step of putting a cigarette receptacle or a garbage can outside. I'm always shocked when I arrive at a beautiful business and there are, obviously evidence of smokers all over the front. Sometimes it might be your own employees or your guests who are coming into your restaurant or your establishment, and they might be, enjoying their cigarette on the way, and now they've arrived and they have no place to put it, so they just flick it, which is bad on many levels, but certainly is not attractive to your business. So providing receptacles is a good investment. And if you can sweep your sidewalk every morning when you turn on your open sign or lift up your shades and open up your door to the world, a quick sweep of your sidewalk will go a long way. Plus, it gets you out on the street where you can say hi to your neighbors and people see that this is an active business. So again, just, I won't get too far into this, but the windows represent your curb appeal. When you see a lot of clutter, you don't really know what's happening. You can't see inside the store, and it's really unattractive, actually, versus saying anything. Sometimes it says so much, it says nothing at all. But you can have fun with windows. You can be clever with your windows when they're clean. I'm going to skip through window displays. I think Kevin might talk a little bit about that. Signage. Signage should be clean and easy to read. It should obviously comply with your local sign codes and ordinances. That's very important. And you can add landscaping or lighting as appropriate. With signage, we are of the opinion that less is more. A very nicely designed, clean looking sign and less of them tells more. And you can't say everything in a sign anyway. People aren't moving that slow that they're going to read it all. So the most important things, who are you? That's probably the most important thing that they need to know. And then beyond that, a closer look, and please, this is so important, to post your hours. You can do that on your door in a very clever way, but your sign doesn't need to include all of that. And we'll show you some well-designed and attractive signs in all different types of situations. So signs that are landscaped, obviously you would need to have the ability to do this, the property in the room to do this kind of a sign. But there's also window signs that can be tastefully done. This is a no longer Brandenburg Bakery, unfortunately, they've moved on, but this was Brandenburg Bakery in Livingston Manor. Entrances. Another signage opportunity is in your entranceway. Clean lines, ways that people welcome people outside of this door. You can't see it because it's not a great photo, but it says come in for good times. So you're being invited inside the business. Again, entrances, clear, clean signage like the hardware store that's up in Livingston Manor, and then accented with flowers, drawing you in. It's colorful, there's pops of color. And every time I go to Livingston Manor, this hardware store draws my attention. I always just want to go there just to go. I haven't needed anything from a hardware store in Livingston Manor, but I say I would like to just walk into this store because it's inviting me in. And they often have their windows filled with geraniums. I don't know how they manage it, but it's absolutely beautiful. Lighting, again, focusing on your window displays, your sign, and your entrances. And when a light goes out, what if you're not replacing it, you're better off turning it off. Because if you don't replace it, then what does burnt out lettering say about you and your store? You want to be really, so when you add layers like this, it's more that you have to be aware of and pay attention to. Awnings, another great way to capture attention, define a space. Again, Brandenburg Bakery had a beautiful awning in front. It also gives a little bit of protection to your guests and your customers when they're coming to visit you. It gives them that moment to, if it's raining, to, you know, catch their breath before they come running in with the rain following behind them. Facades. So when I say facades, we're not talking about a whole entire building makeover. There are some simple things that you can do. But again, starting in your parking lot and working your way, if you have parking to your business, making sure that it's clear of debris, that it's not in ill repair, that there's not, you know, potholes or broken cement, just being aware of what's happening outside of your building. Looking at your windows and the window framing, a coat of paint around the windows can be a great facelift for a facade. Painting your door, painting your trim, or the entire front. Again, these all accelerate in cost as you go further. New siding, that's a big investment, but always thinking about how does it speak to the character of the community and relating to the surroundings. So you have a chance to sort of step back from your business and see how does it relate, but then how can I make it stand out? And standing out doesn't mean it has to be neon lights and neon colors, but it could be, going back to the Will hardware, a pop of color that can be changed. Those flowers can be changed. So if you want to make a different impression, or if you decide you just don't like that look anymore, you're not stuck with a color of paint. This is, you can see the before and after here of a basic facade renovation. I believe this was paint and just painting on the building, painting the doors and painting the trim and fixing up the windows. Adding some landscaping in the front. Using your outdoor space for seating, extending the theme of your store if you can. These are the kind of things that you need to check with your municipality. Are you able to go out onto the sidewalk or outside of your store? It's always nice if you can. So outdoor seating, adding chairs, again, if this makes sense for your business, adding tables and chairs and umbrellas, adding plants to create a space, to define the space, more outdoor seating. This is Narrowsburg in the bottom photo, and the upper photo is Woodridge. And using art, using sculpture. You can see the local table and tap put a dove on the top of their building. We questioned that initially. First we said, can you do that? Is it legal to do that? But it's very clever and it draws your eye, and it was done very tastefully, and they have a very tastefully done facade anyway. So it really didn't, it really adds to, it complements what they already have going on there. Murals can work in some cases, and sculpture. Zach Shavrick is local welding sculpturist. Is that the right sculpturer? Has several pieces throughout the county. They're very signature. You can recognize them. And they invite people want to stop and take a picture. Again, it draws people and it makes your business, it brings your business outside of your counter into the community and makes people feel like they have a connection. And again, more murals. And sometimes murals can be used to block things. Like if you have a dumpster that you have no choice but to put it in a certain place, then using murals and installations of art can help you to hide that. And then taking it into the alley. If you have an alley that is accessible to your business, use that alley. Bring plants out there, bring seating out there if you can. And perk up a parking lot. Pave paradise, perk up a parking lot. Landscaping in the parking lot, if you have access to that space, or if you can partner with the other businesses around you to do this kind of work. And seating can also be, if you don't have a business that lends itself to people having a meal, offering a bench outside of your business. And I know some people might say, well, we don't really want to encourage loitering. But again, if you put all these elements together, if you have a well-established business and you're in and out of your store, you're coming outside to sweep your sidewalk occasionally, you're talking to people, the people who are going to be sitting on your bench are probably going to be people that want to come in or out of your business. some more perking. And then, of course, Sullivan Renaissance is at our core about flowers. And again, in terms of cost, this is little cost. It can go a long way. So just the power of flowers to add color, to define a space, to bring something that's alive out to the street, visually appealing, to define a space using hanging baskets. This is a little bit beyond an individual business. To just at flower planters, if you have the space to put planters and add flowers, again, it adds that pop of color. You're drawing the eye to your business, but you're also adding something back to the community. And planter boxes don't have to be very complicated. We can help you with these things. Containers can be used in very clever ways at your entrance to mark your door, to mark the corners of your building and your business, to define a space. So these planters were used. There's a parking lot there. This is Yanni's Cafe. This photo is a couple of years old, so I'm not sure what they've done the last 2 seasons, but they used the planters to create a buffer between the parking lot so that they could create an outdoor dining space. And again, defining, this is a combination walkway, alleyway. This is in Narrowsburg, and just using the planters and the flowers to create an experience for people. So all of the things that I've showed you in these photos are all things that Sullivan Renaissance can help you accomplish through our business assistance grant program. We can help, our grants can fund landscaping, containers, flower boxes. Our grants can support facade renovations, awnings, windows, outdoor seating, signage, lighting. And most of the photos I showed you were supported through a business assistance grant from Sullivan Renaissance. There's a lot of detail, but the basics are that it's a reimbursable grant and it's a matching grant. So our grants are up to $2,500, which is how you get to the $5,000 goal. And then we also provide, as part of the program, in addition to the grant, design consultations. So we work with, we do a lot of work with Doreen Warner, and I will put a link, or I'll send a link to a workshop that she did for us 2 months ago about signage. That was really incredible. I would encourage you to take a look at it. It speaks broadly about aesthetics. And so we work very closely with Doreen and others to do sign design, to come and look at a space to figure out what type of support we can lend toward this goal. And Carmela is our in-house designer when it comes to gardens and other things, flowers, and she can also support that through some visuals. We can show you what it could look like. Carmela, do you want to add anything?
I think you pretty much covered everything. Yeah, if you have any questions or you need any help dreaming up a garden, I will happily assist.
So you can get a hold of us at info@Sullivan Renaissance. For our business program, you can speak to Christy, and then you can check our website out. We have our applications are on our website. You can just go in and pull down the business assistance grant application, take a look at it. And if you have questions at that point, we can walk you through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. I think, yeah, has it been 20 years? Been talking about how important it is to combine aesthetics with business acumen, in the sense of, okay, you can actually gain really the attractiveness of your business, and the results for your business can be greatly enhanced if you manage to make it attractive and inviting to everybody. And I think, especially as we are coming back from a period where in-person shopping was not on the forefront, I think it's important to remind people that it is an important factor in your business success. And you need to create something that brings people in. And with Sullivan Renaissance, we have a great resource in the county to help with that and to really achieve that. So thank you both. And with that, I'm handing it over to Kevin to take us from the outside into the inside.
And Denise, actually, just a question. for
Sure.
me. I'm looking at some of, you look around the county, there's some really beautiful, elaborate outdoor landscaping and flower arrangements. Do you find that business owners kind of maintain those themselves? Or are they primarily hiring services to keep those up? I'm pretty intimidated by that stuff.
So some of the larger landscapes may be more, if it depends on where it's located. If it's in a public space, it could be the municipality, if it's on the street. But we find that for the most part, if a business owner is doing containers and boxes, they're taking care of those themselves.
Right.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it would be okay for them to have them professionally installed. I mean, we can work with them on that.
Oh, great. Awesome. Well, there's a lot of crossover thematically, philosophically, from what Denise just went over into what I'm going to cover. So I'll try not to be too redundant. I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of where the retail and commercial business space is now in light of COVID. And I just looked at some of trend forecasting to see what people are predicting, how the retail and commercial spaces might change going forward. Just to level set a little bit with some stats, I found this really interesting. 90% of all retail sales are still brick and mortar. So I think I was on another panel in this environment saying that, think about e-commerce, think about that shift. That's a huge emerging market, but we're not there yet. I do think it's going to get there, and the graph always keeps going up. But I thought it was a really good call out that it still is primarily an in-store purchasing environment for our country. I think a lot of the bigger brands, that's probably a different share, but in small towns like our county, brick and mortar is still the leader by far. In-store shopping is still the preferred retail channel for 82% of millennials. I think sometimes we get caught in the cliche of emerging generations being really reliant on tech, and that's not what marketing research bears out. Actually, millennials find tech to be something they have to work with professionally or they've grown up with, and their leisure time, they like to take a break from it. I think for years now, one of the top 3 travel destinations for millennials and exennials is actually camping. So there is a desire in leisure time to disconnect, which again, I think when you look at the small towns that we have, that's a real added value for us. 6 in 10 consumers would meet with a sales associate if possible. So when I talk about commercial and retail spaces, that includes staffing. You really can't disassociate how you present the physical space without how you present yourself personally within the physical space. I know there's a lot of emerging chat options when you're doing e-commerce, but people actually percentage-wise prefer the in-person contact. I think that goes especially for services. When shopping in stores, consumers value prompt service most of all. So that number really went up with COVID. And I think that trend forecasters are finding out that people really enjoyed prompt service. We did that out of a lot of fear, a lot of unknown, and not wanting to have people in a physical space longer than they needed to be. Obviously, curbside pickup picked up, but trend forecasters are thinking that became a real luxury for people to have prompt service. That's not only how are you doing, can I help you, but can I check you out quickly? For over $100 you spend in a local business, $68 stays in town. So we're all in this together. I was thinking about when Denise was saying that our windows can create a kind of collective environment of our town. It benefits all of us if we're creating warm and inviting business spaces, because that money will reverberate around our county. The number one reasons why consumers shop in store is the ability to touch, smell, feel products, and in some cases try them on. It's hard to beat that online. There's been a lot of tech advancements to how you can do your wardrobe digitally, and nothing is taken off, but there's always a trendy article about how that's going to take over the industry, and I have my doubts. 60% of men and 52% of women say at least occasionally they'll go and check out a small business before buying online. So this is where your brick and mortar space really is. It's a marketing tool, and it's the marketing tool that encompasses the 5 senses, which can't compete with social media and e-commerce. It's the most complete version of your brand. So that's just an overall kind of where we are. All of those stats were the end of last year. So these were adjusted for kind of our pandemic reality. The main benefit of creating that store environment that really portrays the kind of business you want to have and expresses yourself in the most specific way possible is that it's the way that you build all of your other marketing channels. You start with your retail space, and then you build your social media, web, signage, everything else comes out of that space. It's the perfect expression of your brand. So I break that down into a couple categories. It's the invitation. This is your welcome. This is your first line of saying hello to the customer. How are you coming off in the store? What is your hello when they walk in the door? What is the first thing that they see? It's the complete branding of your environment. And this is, I've seen this to be a little inconsistent, to be honest, in this county, where we want to have consistency of colors, consistency of fonts. When you look at the fixtures or the tables or however you're presenting your product, you want materials to be at least thematically connected to what you're trying to express as a brand, or thematically connected to the interior space of your store or business. This goes down to the lighting. How are we seeing your products show up? The music, what is that vibe that your brand represents, and what is the music that matches up to it? Denise touched on window design, which is a huge advertisement for your brand. So I won't reiterate that, but merchandising is something that's really changing right now. For years, merchandising had been going through a trend of decluttering, and that was unrelated to a pandemic because this was happening in the 2010s. Since COVID, there's a subconscious need for a clean environment. So despite the fact that we seem to be turning the tide on the pandemic right now, and hopefully the numbers continue to get better and people get vaccinated, there's going to be a subconscious need for cleanliness, wellness, and health and safety in your business spaces. So that has led trend forecasters to think of merchandising as a much more clean presentation. So you look at holiday window or in-store setups, and you might have like a lot of lush decorations and a lot of product on tables to get the feeling of the presents under a Christmas tree, for instance. People right now want to see the product. They want to feel that the place looks clean. They don't want to spend a lot of time having to navigate the products they might be looking for, because there could be that subconscious fear of being in enclosed places with people longer than they need to be. So a lot of retailers are actually changing their entire concept of in-store design. Less heavy fixtures, less large tables, things that are modular, meaning things that can be moved around with ease to adjust to curveballs like the pandemic. When we talk about wayfinding in stores, obviously we saw the 6 feet rule where you would space out 6 feet at the register. You'd keep your distance while in a shopping environment. A lot of people are saying this is going to be something that they're going to keep after the pandemic, which I enjoy. I don't need to be pressed up against people in line at a busy store at the holidays. We're obviously seeing people that can control their retail environments, like small businesses, are emerging. Small businesses are actually on an emerging curve of sales in the last 3 months, where larger retailers are down. Some of that has been attributed to the fact that you can have more control over your environment when you're a small business, rather than when you're a large chain and you're hoping that all the individual stores and franchises are following safety protocols that are maybe harder to enforce. Communicating safety efforts along with in line with the other COVID related changes in the industry is something that people are predicting will stay around. Obviously, there's been all kinds of signage about, as we learned new things about COVID, we had to change how we were communicating to our customer. The hand sanitizer, the 6 feet, the wear a mask. These kinds of communications will remain. Maybe as certain restrictions get lifted, we won't have masks in stores in maybe a year from now, but customers are going to still want to feel that you're thinking about their health and safety for the next problem that might come along in the health and safety sphere. Knock on wood that doesn't happen. And a contactless checkout That emerged for a lot of smaller businesses. Obviously, we see that at like your Walmarts and Home Depots. People were able to pivot some people to that in a more small business level, and consumer response has been very positive when it comes to contactless checkout. You're also going to want to continue to think about curbside pickup, not necessarily as a safety precaution necessarily going forward, but because it became very popular in the market. One of the great benefits of your in-store environment and relating with customers in that space is it's a great place to capture consumer data and feedback. It's very different than an online survey. It's very different than Yelp. That's where you can have a dialogue with someone, really learn about what they think about your brand, poke around for things that maybe they find challenging. A lot of times in marketing, it's the people that are least willing to talk that probably give the most valuable information, and the people most willing to talk that you got to take a grain of salt. A lot of times I'll look at Yelp reviews if I get a bad one and see like this person hasn't been happy in any kind of commercial space in the last 10 years. So I don't know what to make of that. Websites and social are just new versions of the store. So I think I'm repeating myself a little here, but your branding in the store, those fonts, those colors, that brand image, you do want to make sure that that's expressed in a similar way across all of your other marketing platforms. With online spaces, the in-store space becomes more important, and in a way that it brings community together. This is another thing that I think we're going to see happen after people emerge from hiding for the last year and a half or year, where people do want to connect in public spaces. So people, because they are experiencing brands on social and web so much, they're looking at retail store spaces to be more of a place where they understand the brand and maybe see other people and have an experience within the store. So events are definitely emerging in stores. I've seen people offer coffee. I've seen people offer alcohol. This is a kind of more intimate coffee shop type feel to what would otherwise just be a retail space. That is even happening on the retail chain level, where people are trying to differentiate themselves from stores that are failing in malls and make them more intimate in communities, despite the fact that they might have a big national name attached to them. When it comes to the wayfinding in your store, a lot of brands were looking at one-way travel, and they were demanding that during COVID, where you'd have arrows on the floor to make sure that you were progressing in a line and you weren't backtracking and maybe kind of cluttering with other people. I don't think that will remain necessarily where we want to dictate the movements within a retail store environment, but we are looking at trend forecasters saying that you do want to have your wayfinding be consistent within a store. People don't want to get lost on their way to the cash register because there's tables, fixtures, and products that don't go together, kind of making it a confusing wayfinding journey within your store space. That's always been true for in-store merchandising, but it's probably going to be more true now that people want a deeper understanding about where they're going and where they can be more contactless within your retail environment. That's kind of it. Just thinking about the turn to cleanliness and that clean environment is just going to be so important right now. But I think that kind of sums everything up.
All right, thank you. In the third part now, we've worked from the outside physical space into the inside physical space, and now we're going one level deeper into the inside of our heads. And the person here to guide us through that and to help us with that is Michael Palumbo. Michael is a coach and consultant for corporate, as a corporate trainer and a therapist in that sense. And he has prepared some thoughts on that one.
Thank you, Heinrich, and thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you this morning. So I think thematically, this is really going to string together nicely. So you don't have control over who comes into your store. Maybe it's that person on Yelp that has been unhappy in retail space for 10 years. What you do have control and agency over is your thoughts, your state of being, your choices, and how you interact with them. And if you're planting your own flower boxes or outside watering, it's a great opportunity to meet and connect with current or potential customers. And the pandemic, look, it's been challenging. And I work with a lot of people who are in transition or who are struggling coming out and trying to reopen, getting comfortable back in spaces and just figuring out who they are, what they want to do, and how do they move forward from this. So I have just a quick exercise that I'm going to take everyone through here as I'm just going to share my screen here. So first, just congratulations on making it to a grand reopening as you're preparing for your spring cleaning and preparing for your open season. It's been a challenging year unlike any other. So the fact that you're in a position here and we're coming through and it looks like we're turning the corner, that these are some things to celebrate here. So in this high-tech virtual high technology glitz and glamour age, I want to go super high tech and just ask everyone to grab 2 blank sheets of paper and a pen. Sometimes the best tools are the most simple. And so we're just going to take a couple of minutes just to get ourselves ready for what lies ahead in the summer and even in the first interactions that we have today. And it's a simple exercise that's just called take it or leave it. So on top of the first page that you have, just write take it in big letters. Take a couple of moments here. I'm going to leave these questions up on the screen and just jot down, free form, whatever comes out, what has served you well in the last year that you want to take with you coming out of the pandemic? What positive strides, graces, blessings, whatever it is, make it yours. But what do you want to claim from the last year? And what do you want more of in this 2021 peak season? So just take a minute and just write it down. Okay. So if you're ready to move on that second sheet of paper, just in big letters, write leave it. And just write down what has not served you well in 2020 that you need to let go of. What feels heavy that you don't want to carry? Is there anything that you need to forgive yourself or let go of just so that you can move forward and be ready for what lies ahead? Okay, so I'm going to just stop the share here. And so it's important to have these on 2 separate sheets of paper. For everything that you want to leave behind, if you've got space or a backyard or a fireplace, and you can burn this and literally let it go and watch it go up in ash, it can actually help release and physically remove those blocks or whatever it is that felt heavy. Just seeing it go can really be helpful and make space for the things that you want to keep. Now, if you're an apartment dweller, there's probably no need to alert your local fire department that you are preparing and starting anew for this, this new spring cleaning event. If you're in an office or an apartment, paper shredders work really well as a substitute for fire. Now, for the things that you want to take with you, in your interactions, whether it's the first customer you have today, take a look at what you wrote down. What's the one that really jumps out at you first? That this is what I want to take forward. This is what I want to bring with me. And if folks are open to sharing, I'd love to hear just what is the one thing that really jumps out, and how will you bring that into your first conversation today with a customer or a business partner? And how will you bring that to your interactions today as a starting point?
Okay, I volunteer. One of the things that I wrote down is focus on each interaction, because they've become precious, in the sense of that it wasn't just kind of casual anymore, because you made an effort to really kind of get to people and get with people and interact with people. And I thought that was very beneficial to really kind of start to really tune out the noise, and really give each interaction the due that it really deserves, instead of just kind of doing it on the side and with your head halfway somewhere else. To have that freedom to really kind of say, okay, I don't need to focus on 20 people at the same time, but I have one partner, one business, one friend, one dinner guest, or whatever. The groups were smaller, and the interaction, I think, became more intense and valuable.
Yeah, that great advice, just to be present. And it sounds very similar to advice you would give some folks who are getting married at a wedding reception. You may have 100, 200 guests, whatever it may be, and you may have a minute with each person. So just being present in that moment will make a lasting memory for that one person. So yeah, slowing things down and just be where you're at, very helpful. So anyone, I know we have some Q&A, if we could hear maybe from one, maybe two more, just about what is it that you want to bring with you, and how will you bring that into your conversations and interaction today?
I put connecting with people, which is very similar to what Heinrich was saying, but my number one was getting outside. That was something that I appreciated last year and don't take for granted as much so far this year. And that's something that we made an effort to do more of in our work last year, is to get outside more in an effort to connect with more community people. And I hope that we are able to do the same again this year. I know we're planning on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So, anyone else? I think we may have time for one more. Okay. Heinrich, I'll turn it back over to you, and just one last thing that I will share here. I'll pop my contact info in. Happy to connect, whether it's on LinkedIn or email. I do have a complimentary newsletter just with tips, reflections, insights that can help. It's more than just corporate. It's titled On Life and Leadership. So if this was helpful, it's complimentary. Happy to connect. And if I am able to visit Sullivan County, I'm in Chatham, New Jersey right now, I will certainly look up your businesses. And because yes, my family and I, we definitely want to get outdoors and start traveling again as well. So yes, thank you very much. Heinrich, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I should start kind of making. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Thank you, the other panelists, Kevin, Denise, and Camilla. We have about 10 minutes left. It's a small group, so I think we can do questions and comments informally. If anybody has anything, unmute yourself. Jamie, have you muted everybody, or is it in individual purview?
It's up to the individual whether or not to mute themselves. I didn't mute anybody, so feel free to unmute yourselves and join in the conversation. I just want to make a comment. Thank you very much, Michael, for your interactive thing. We all, I think, wrote the same things down. And that was the connection with other people and how important it was to concentrate on that one person and tune everything else out. And because we had to, but then in the end, that's something we want to take with us and be able to do in the future. And so thank you so much for bringing that to the fore, because now it just put into light those things that we really have benefited from in this crazy pandemic time.
Yeah, absolutely. The pandemic has been like an app on your phone running in the background, draining the battery. So, definitely the outdoors and just connection to nature, connection with other people is a great way to recharge and restart. So.
Yeah, I'd want to echo that as well, Jamie, just that. And also in terms of how that relates to business, just having your guests or customers feel that they are the focus of your attention and that they really feel that from you. But also if you're in an organization and you have a team of people giving, or attempting to give them that same for your staff and your team. We ski up at Plattekill, and the owner of Plattekill is the quintessential, he would be a great presenter about customer service. And you watch him and he every person he interacts with, it's like he is in that moment. That is the person, but what's going on around him is total chaos because there's so much happening, but he is able to somehow focus on those individual people. So every guest that he interacts with, whether it be for 10 seconds or 10 minutes, feels that connection to him. And people comment about it all the time. So I do want to add one other thing. I was thinking as we were talking, and it might relate to getting outside and moving around as well. But several years ago, when we all got those, measure your steps, pedometers, and the smart watch, everything that told you how many steps you were taking. And occasionally people would program it to remind them to get up and walk around and get their steps in. I think for a business, in terms of back to curb appeal, if you give yourself a prompt every day to do a perimeter check, and it could be in the morning, 3 times a day or twice a day. And that's a great way to get your staff involved as well, is just to have that reminder every day, we're going to go out, because the perimeter check can make a huge difference. If some of the larger retail stores did a perimeter check occasionally, you would never have the kind of blight that you see, unfortunately, in larger shopping centers. So the same for a small business, a perimeter check, a sidewalk sweep, or just sticking your head out and standing outside your store for a minute and saying hi to the folks that are passing by. So you can program yourself to do that until it becomes second nature.
And for me, that also goes with the approach to say all of the topics that we talked about today are connected.
Yes.
If you want to project an image or a brand or whatever you want to call it, your vision of your business, it starts from the outside, it moves to the inside, and then it's also you yourself as a person. And the perimeter check would be as much mental as physical, in the sense of I always laughed. I worked in a theme park once as a student, and there were these rah-rah sessions in the morning, and I thought, oh, this is the Americans going crazy, but it really kind of, it helps you focus your mind on kind of, what am I here today? What am I here to do today? What is my purpose in this, and how can I leave whatever I bring this morning with me? How can I, to some degree, leave that behind and really switch on and say, okay, this is now my focus. This is now what I'm not only getting paid for, but I should enjoy and have fun doing. And for that, you need to take a moment to really prep yourself mentally as well as physically, as well as your business environment.
A thing that jumped out to me for the take it or leave it is, just based on my answers, is, we're coming out of this seemingly perpetual intensity. All of the smallest decisions we make in our personal and professional lives matter. And we constantly, as business owners, have to impress upon other people that we're taking their health and safety, the most important thing in the world, into consideration with their experience with us. I think it's important to also balance the light with the dark, or, you know, that people are possibly going to be coming out to businesses or your restaurants or whatever because they want a carefree moment. So that doesn't mean you can't impress upon them that they're in a safe place, but I don't think we need to, I need to personally match that hopeful lightness and not always have to come with such an intensity or fear of, you know, whatever the day brings you. There are, I think, there's a bit more knowledge about how to handle everything right now. There's a bit more good news. The weather's changing. So it's like a reminder for me that people are there to have a good time, and I want to match them on that level and also allow myself to have a good time in the process.
I put the YouTube link in the chat for the Make a Lasting Impression workshop that we did with Doreen Warner, so that you can share that for folks, because it gets really much further into the details of aesthetics, and she did a great job.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It just, it does my heart good personally to see everybody feeling the same things that I'm feeling, doing the same things that I'm trying to do with the Chamber of Commerce or trying to help our businesses with. And it just solidifies that we're all in this together. And, you know, while the pandemic has highlighted some of our not so good points, it has also given us an opportunity to move forward in a more positive light and a more interactive light with our customers, with our patrons and so forth. And so I just really appreciate everybody joining us this morning. And I'm thankful for all of you. You're a great team, and go team go, right? Everybody hands in.
Thank you.
She does the rah-rah thing. It brings me back to my
I said we're all ready for the amusement park now. So,
yeah, there you go.
All right. I also want to thank everybody for the Chamber of Commerce, and a shout out. We have sessions coming up, 2 sessions that talk about social media and e-commerce. Hopefully next week and the week after. We're still working on the final dates and constellations, but there are 2 more sessions, again, morning sessions, 8 to 9, where we want to talk about social media, and from the point of, okay, what to do and how to do it, which is probably more just as important. And we want to talk about e-commerce. I think, Kevin, you're scheduled to join us for that, to talk about pitfalls, potential pitfalls and things to consider when you go into an e-commerce environment, even though we just learned that bricks and mortar is still tantamount to in terms of getting business done. But still, it's a valid consideration many businesses have these days to add that. But it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. And I think there are a few things to consider before you do it. So yeah, those are the 2 sessions that we still have in May coming up. Again, thank you, everybody. It's gray today, but maybe a little bit of sun later, looking out of the window. Enjoy your day, and go spring.
Yay.
Everyone, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
thank you.